Hi, I'm here to share a bit of my story with what happened to me when I was growing up. So, when I was 13 years old, I was going on a family trip for my uncle's 30th birthday, and the family were going, and we were going to Bruges. On that trip, I had obviously my whole family there, and one of my other uncles who was married into the family and was Uncle Brian decided to spend a lot of time with me and I guess give me attention that I wasn't used to. On that trip he would put his arm around me and just make me feel special, and being a 13-year-old I kind of enjoyed it and was a bit unsure about what this was. I didn't live in the same area as him at this point. I was living in Leicestershire with my parents and two sisters, and my mum and dad were actually going through a breakup, so we did spend quite a lot of time going up to Yorkshire where Uncle Brian lived and my grandparents and the rest of my family. During these trips he just kind of gave me again more attention, and every time I went back to Leicester he would call me up, see how I was. And I guess making me feel special, and spending that time communicating with me. We moved up to Yorkshire when my mum and dad finally split up, and this was the year after, so I was 14. And it's really difficult to know the time frames of when things happened. I have memories of, we slept in the conservatory, for instance, so it can't have been winter, it must have been warm enough to be able to do that, so that was obviously summer, and this was something that I spoke through in my interview with the police. So we moved up to Yorkshire, and again we're spending a lot of time there. I used to go and have sleepovers at his house, and my auntie Sandra was there, who's my mum's sister, with my sister Rachel, and we would do that quite often from memory. Like, we'd go away for weekends and stuff, and I'd always go out with Brian, and Rachel would spend time with Sandra, and just I was with Brian quite often, and I think to me in my head I was like, I must be in a relationship with this person, it's weird, but obviously in his mind he was just grooming me. So the abuse, which was sexual, went on for I would say like 2 year, maybe longer span. It's just hard to actually remember when things happened. I remember, turning 16 and I was wanting to go out with boys my own age and things, and I remember ending it with him and saying, I don't want to do this anymore, and he said to me, well, I'm going to have to go sleep with a prostitute now, please come over one more time. And I was like, no, that's it. And again, it's like, how many times it happened? I don't know. I can't put a number on it. And that's something the police asked me as well. So this was in spanning from 2001 to 2004. And then that was that. I totally forgot about it. Didn't really cross my mind again. And I remember before I turned 30, which was in 2017, end of 2017, I remember I think it was the 2016 year, things coming out, and there was Jimmy Savile, all that kind of happened, and that was triggering things. There was a storyline on Hollyoaks where a girl was being groomed by her stepdad, and then in my head I was thinking, this doesn't seem right, and I was like, right, I need to do something. And I remember being at his house for Christmas in 2016, and he just said to me to tidy something up, and I was like, no, you do it. And I just was rebelling a bit, I think, and I just avoided him. And then in 2017, I thought, I need to speak to somebody. I just need to get it out, because I just can't continue like this. I was such an angry person. I'd always been moody and angry, and I never knew why. But now obviously it's all out, and kind of, I went to court and stuff. I now understand why I was so annoyed and pissed off, because obviously I'd gone through that as a child and I'd buried it. But subconsciously I was probably pissed off that it happened. So in the January 2017, I went to see a counsellor. I Googled and found one, and I was like, she looks nice, I'll go see her. And I went and I said, I just want to tell you, I don't want to tell anyone else, I just want to tell somebody. And it came out, and I was just like, I felt so much better and like a weight had been lifted, and it just then went, it just spiraled. So I got like confident. So a week after my counselling, I was at my sister's house, and two friends had come around having some drinks, and I remember just turning to my friend and saying, I've got something to tell you. She was like, what? And at this point I had a boyfriend, and she was like, have you cheated on your boyfriend? I was like, no, it's something worse. And I just said, I was abused by Brian as a kid. And she was like, what? Like, literally did not know what to do with it. And she said, you need to tell your sister. And I was like, oh, just don't. And then I said, you tell her. And she was like, no, you tell her. And then I said to Becca, my older sister, I was like, oh, I've got something to say. And I said, I was abused by Brian. And she said, I know. And I was like, what the fuck? And as it came out more and more, like, as obviously family members found out, it was obvious. They were like, why did we not see the signs? Like, the behaviour of, with me and Brian, like, I was sitting on his knee and stuff, and he was all real lovey-dovey with me and things. They were like, oh my God, you look gorgeous. You know, just things that weren't normal to come from an uncle's mouth. So that started the process then. So this was the February time. I kept it a secret then. I said to Becca, like, she told me with Sister Rachel, and I was like, can't tell anybody. I'm not ready to deal with like what's next. And we kept it under wraps for a couple of months really. Like, we were having to go to family dues, and my sister was like, we need to cancel. I said, you can't cancel because then it'll raise suspicion. I said, I've had to live with this for how many years and carry on, so I'm sure we can until we decide what I'm going to do. And I remember going round to my auntie's house, so my mum's brother and his wife, and telling her, Jane, and she was like, you need to tell Peter. And I was like, fuck. So we told him. And I did it purposely when Sandra and Brian were out the country, so they couldn't go round and like confront Brian. But then when Brian got back, Peter had texted him and said, I need to see you. And he met him and he said, I know what you've done. And he was like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And Peter was like, the police. But at this point, I hadn't decided what I was going to do. But Brian went home that day and told Sandra, but we never found out what he told her. So then Sandra asked to see me. I never, and to this day I wish I'd asked what he told her, because I still don't know to this day what he told her. And Sandra was like, right, I'll take you to police right now. And I said, I'm not ready to do anything. Just, you know, Brian took the control. I was controlling the situation and telling people as and when I wanted to. And he took that control out of, you know, my hands. So I was due to go on holiday to Vegas for like 3 weeks. And I was like, I'm going to go. I think it was 2 weeks, rather than 3. I was like, I'm going to go and have a think whilst I'm away what I'm going to do. So I went away and I was like, I think I need to go to the police. And anyway, I texted Sandra when I got back, and Sandra had started not talking to people when I was away, like just literally ignoring the family. I texted Sandra, I said like, how are you? Didn't reply to me. So I thought, do you know what? Fuck you. I'm going to the police. I'm trying to reach out to you. You're not bothering replying. So I was like, I'll take matters into my own hands. And I went to the police. And this was end of May 2017, and the process was disgusting really. Like, I had to carry on my normal life, always chasing up saying what's happening next, you know, are we going to get anything sorted? They were like CPS reviewing it constantly. And the policeman I dealt with, Claire, she was amazing. Like, I can't fault her. She was checking I was okay and everything, but the process was just so long. So we went to Magistrates Court, I think it was like August 2018. They said it's too serious, you need to go to Crown Court. That went then, I want to say October 2018, and they said, right, you need to come to trial, and that will be March 2019. So bearing in mind, I reported it in May 2017, didn't go to court till March 2019. It was a week-long trial. When I reported it in 2017, the next day they came and picked me up and took me to a safe house to record my video, you know, of all my evidence, which I've got a copy of. Don't know why I wanted a copy. I wanted it so I could watch it back if I ever want to. God knows why. And week-long trial in court. I had to go on the stand. I think it was the second day, because the first day they watched my video, and that was quite a long video, a few hours, and then they had called like 15 witnesses up, and then as it went on, each day they dropped majority of them, because they realised that the case was so strong. You know, they didn't need all these witnesses. They were trying to call our bluff, I think. And it was 8 counts he got done with, and it was like indecency with a child, and I can't remember the other one. But he couldn't get done for sex with a child because the laws had changed since like 2004, which I think is a load of shit. So he got sentenced to 5 years, but obviously that would be reduced to 2.5. So he served his 2.5, and he tried to appeal it. He tried to get a lesser sentence, which I was like, you're an idiot. You know, you've been found guilty. The jury, literally, we broke for lunch on that Friday, and then came back into the court. 5 minutes later, it was like, we're ready to go. So like an hour it took them to decide. I had to give a victim statement to the police, obviously to be read out in court. And I was like, I'll read it, but I was like, I can't. It was just so overwhelming. So they read that out, and then they were discussing obviously the sentencing and stuff. And I was like, I need to get out. And I walked out, and all he was doing was apparently sat like this when they were reading out his, you know, verdict and how long he was going to go to prison. So bearing in mind he was a chief inspector in the police, you know, untouchable, living a life cocky shit, you know, like the captain of a golf club, like, look at me. He was literally torn down. So he came out of prison, so 2021, like September time. Bearing in mind we had a year of COVID and he was in prison. Like, we all were basically in prison outside, you know, living in COVID. I bump into him occasionally because he lives locally. God knows why I stayed local. One thing to point out as well, after I reported it to police, none of the family saw Sandra ever again. She still sees my grandma, which pisses me off because I'm real close to my grandma. And I'm like, how are you okay with this, grandma? But grandma's 90 and I try not to obviously cause any family problems. But yeah, didn't hear from Sandra ever again. So bearing in mind she's got me and my 2 sisters. She's got I've got a cousin, George, who's 14. She's got a brother, she's got a sister. You know, we're a big family. She's lost us all, but she still sees Brian's son and daughter, you know, so I hope that gives her some kind of, you know, nice feeling that she sees a paedophile's family rather than her own blood. But I have released a book discussing all this. It's called It Happened to Me Too. If you go on Amazon and search Leila Ives, my name, which we'll put a link for if anyone wants to buy that. And it's just sharing my story about it all, because in the process of all of this, I also got diagnosed with MS, which there is research into trauma triggering that. So yeah, there's that as well. But more than happy, reach out to me on Instagram, Facebook, whatever. If my story, you know, touches any of you, you think I can help, more than happy to do so. I think the key is just, I guess, being there for other people as well. I will one day write a second book as well, because so much has happened since my life. It's just like so much has happened. I've been dealt so many bad cards, but I guess you've got to try and make the most out of it and not see the negatives, I guess. But don't know really if I've shared much here which is helpful, but just a bit about the process and how you can bury things for so many years. Like, I buried it for like 16 years and thought things were normal. I carried on my life as normal and was seeing him and was still so close to him, but then one day something flipped, and I think that's quite normal. So do speak out if you feel that it will help you. Don't be afraid. You know, there's so many of us out there who are abuse survivors, and we should all stand together and just be strong, I guess. So thank you.